Well, good evening and welcome. Here's my next project. This is a Unique radio. I believe it's French. It's been painted, painted green by somebody many years ago apparently. All I can say is it's all there. Some of the redeeming features are the glass is in good condition. That's about it really. There's the name there, Unique radio. Now this model's the Royal. I don't know if they had any other models. Now the dial's pretty standard for a European radio with all the different names of towns and cities. Now just trying to work out these band settings here. PU will be phono, of course. OC, just going by the bands here, I think that's shortwave. PO will be medium wave. GO will be long wave. Yeah. And BE, I think, is an extension of shortwave. I think it's up here. I'm not sure what BE means. The knobs, I guess volume, that's tuning, I think. Oh, no, I don't think it is. So volume, tone, that's tuning, and that'll be the band switch on off there. So it looks like you just select the station by moving the glass around. Some of the other features of the radio is the nice green, they've painted it. Now the other thing is it's got borers. Long time ago, I'd say they're not there anymore. It's been painted and the paint's gone in the borer holes. Now the lady I bought it off said she bought it in Belgium about 20 years ago and it was painted. She said she's bought it out here and it's never been used out here. I don't know how long she's been in Australia for, but she told me they'd never used it. Now I'm pretty keen to have a look inside. The back's nailed on. I'll just get something to get that off. Right. What? Look at this. Look at the size of the radio in there. Now the nice lady told me this was made in the 40s. I didn't believe it for a minute, maybe 50s. Magic Eye. Certainly not the 40s. This is yeah, early 50s perhaps, I don't know. It's a light globe. Oh look, it's got a it's got the European plug on it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 valves. Transformer, that's good. There's something growing on the top of that capacitor. I don't know, it's trying to get away, is it? I don't know. Is it bubbled out the top? Gosh. Just looking, the speaker looks alright. So it might be something that says made in England. Whoops, made in England. Now just looking at these IF cans, they're pretty late model stuff. That's getting close to the 60s, I would think, for that. And just looking at the voltages there, it's got 240 on it, so that'll be 220 probably, which would be the European standard at the time. Yeah, it even goes to 110, so could have used it in the US. It's interesting to see the size of the chassis compared to the cabinet. Clearly design for the cabinet didn't keep up with the miniaturization of components on radios. So they still had to stick to what the public wanted or what they perceived the public wanted. Now the case itself is quite rickety. I can move the whole thing. So it needs to be stripped back to its bare boards to do anything. Now I did see one of these online. It was up for sale at some point, so there were still photos of it there. This was all timber. I think the front would have been blacked out or something. I'm not sure what these piping is around here. I need to replace that if I'm going to do anything with it. What I think I'll do is pull all this out, see what it looks like, whether I've got valves for it, whether it needs valves. The chassis actually looks pretty clean under there, I think. So it might clean up alright. Yeah, it might be an interesting project. Well, there you go. There's my crazy French radio. I'm going to pull the chassis out and we'll see what's inside. I'll start taking these knobs off. They're screwed on. Get that out of there. Just going to try and get this eye tube out, but it's not easy. There we go. I think this screw holds the front panel on, so just try and undo that. Here we go. Well, here's the front panel. It's tin. I thought it was plastic. So that's good. It means I can paint strip it. Didn't know how I was going to get the old paint off, so that's good. Now, assuming this is bolted on. Okay, it's not bolted on anything. It's just sitting there. For a radio that's been sitting around for 20 years, it's got all the bits missing. Why would you bring something over from overseas that's in this condition? We've still got the Euro plug on it. It couldn't have been used here. I don't know. All right. Maybe it... No, I don't know. All right. Well, that's easy enough. This is a wooden panel with all the string attached to it. It's supposed to be attached to the chassis, but it's not. All those bolts fell out too. Because this dial string's running around the front of the pointer on this plate, I might try and refit this while I have a look at the chassis. I'm going to have to unstring it to get the front blade away from it. So there's the inside of it. The transformer's lost its covering there, but that's no big deal. That's nothing. May not have had anything there. Big black waxies there. I think I can read the values on there. I haven't got a diagram for this, of course. There's a wire floating. There's a wire off the coil floating, so I don't know what coil that's going to be. I'll have to find out where that goes. Gosh. I might have bitten off more than I can chew on this one. Alright, I'll have to get it inside and have a look. I've got this inside now. Here's the little wire that's broken off this coil. This blue wire has been tacked on later, so I don't think that should be there. So I'll get rid of that. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There's a little bit of wire there that's sticking out. And here's the broken wire. I think that would have attached to that, so I'll have to try and reattach that. It'll be a bit fiddly, but I think I can do that alright. Now what it means is one of the bands isn't going to work with that broken. I don't know what band it'll be. Now something else that happened, this is the power lead in, there's the volume control. I think I broke the volume control trying to get the knob off because it was rusted on. I ended up using pliers, so I think I might have overstressed the on-off switch. So to get power on the radio, I'm just going to desolder those and just attach them to the other wire coming out of the switch. And we'll have a look at the switch a bit later, see if I can repair it. Now, I've had a very good look around this radio. I can't find anything standing out wrong with it. There's no shorts that I can see. I'm going to try powering it up. Now all this test circuit here is on an isolated power supply. I've got a dim bulb in there, so I'm going to try that. I've set it to 218 volts. This unit runs on 220. I'll just put an aerial in there. I forgot that. Now I'm going to set the band on. I think that's going to be broadcast. Volume control. Put that up a little bit, and that's the tuning. So I put some knobs on there so I don't have to grab the radio. All right, dim bulb. Let's see what happens. Watch the globe. If it comes on bright, I'm turning it off. Wow. There you go. Well, the dial light's on. 16 watts, that's probably about right. It's buzzing, it's humming, I mean. Is this actually going to work? Oop. Try it on another. Okay, well that'll be the phono. I'm touching the phono, I think that's phono position. I'm not getting anything, which would indicate the amplifier is not working. This is behaving itself. It's got 167 volts there, so it's probably not enough to get this going. I'll see if I can get a bit more out of the Variac. Right, I got it up to 182. Mark, it's making a noise. That's full volume. Let's try it on the phono. Well, this phono. Okay, so the amp's working. Well, from there on, from that point on, the amp's working. So that's very quiet, that bit. I don't know what that was. I think this was long wave, I think. It's not going to get anything. So that should be medium wave. I think that's receiving. So it's doing something, but it's not tuning anything in. So you would think that the oscillator is not working, and possibly that wire that's broken off is off the oscillator, off the broadcast band oscillator. So I'll turn it off. I'll see if I can repair that little wire. There's a bit of wire. I'm just trying to clean the copper, the coating off the copper. I'm just trying to get this bit of wire out of here that I cut off before. I want to make a little coil so that I can put it over the broken wire. So I've got this old... Alright, so there's a nice little coil there. I'll put that over the broken wire and make a nice little solder joint. Now I'm just buzzing out the other side of this wire here, and I'm getting continuity. A bit hard to read, just flashes on and off, but there's some continuity there. So now run this repair wire here through the top of the plate there, just to stabilise it so it doesn't wobble around. I don't know if you can see that wire. There it is. Now I'm channeling Dr. Christian Barnard, the microsurgeon here. Well, it's glued on there. Whether it's soldered to it is another thing. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just put some hot glue on here. I'll eventually put some hot glue over the repair, but I don't want to do it until I know it works. There you go. Alright, so that's gone off. Just means I can manipulate this up here without worrying too much about what I'm doing down the bottom. Well, I've got both those wires around that little terminal there, so I'll solder them in. I'll check the continuity on this wire. And what do we got? That looks pretty good. Yeah, about 4.5 ohms. I think that'd be about right. So. Alright, there's the join there. It's pretty good. It looks good. Quite solid. So I'll see if that gets the radio working. May do nothing, of course. It may be totally unrelated. I'm going to give it another go. I've got power on. I've got 220 odd volts there. This should work alright. It's in dim bulbs again, and that's about where it was. So it's looking good. I'm going to wind the power up again so we can get it to work. Right, so that's on broadcast band. I'm just moving the tuner from the back there. It's too hard at the front there. There's virtually no hum from this. Wonder if I should go to full power. That should be enough to get it working. I'll pull it back. Go to full power. Oh, I've got 220 volts here. Okay. Now I've been playing with this for a few minutes. I'm not getting anything through as far as a signal, so something is not working. Now some of the, I just moved some of the valves around and they're very noisy. I've turned it off. I'm going to just spray them, just see if I can clean them up a bit. You never know, might be enough to trick it into going. Now, I've cleaned all the valves up. We'll see if it makes any difference. That should be broadcast band, I think. Seems quieter than it was before. I've got that on phono, now we're not getting anything. It's getting a little bit, not much.
That's true, but you forgot to say that it's ring. So that's the first, that would be my first issue.
I can't have an opinion, Ed, ABC.
Oh, well, you can if it's pro the gun.
Okay, I had it on the wrong band. Oh, shush. I had it on the wrong band. So that's... okay, oh well.
Well, that may well be up to you, but I'll...
Okay, here's what's going on. I've just been playing with this. The third band up, which I thought was long wave, appears to be in the broadcast band. So that's on the third frequency on that little window there. I had it on the second. It is working. It's only getting one channel.
Your brain, obviously we can't go too much into what happened, but what happened in your brain in the moment when you realise what you've done?
Now that's the ABC channels. That's the strongest one we get. But I can't get any others.
Yes. And I know that on,
So there should be one here somewhere. It's just not coming through. Okay. I don't get that. It works. That station's coming in reasonably loud and clear. Yet it's not down here. So once again you wonder, does the oscillator stop working halfway down? I'll have to go and have a think, maybe put the oscilloscope on and just see what it's doing inside. But it's getting there, we're getting there slowly. I was just looking around to see what coil was doing what, and I realised this was broken off here. This is a ground point for a number of coil wires, so maybe a bit of a long shot, but I'll clip that to ground and just see if it comes good. Okay, I've just tried that out. It had made no difference whatsoever, so I'll just solder that on and continue with what I was doing, which I think I'm going to put the oscilloscope on. I've connected my oscilloscope up. I've connected it onto the oscillator pin of the mixer valve. So that's that's the earth for it. It's just going to the earth wire. I soldered that back on. That's just the antenna wire there. Now I've got it on phono at the moment, so you won't get anything. I'll just see if it works. Well, there's something there. So we should be able to tune that. That seems to be working, you know. Maybe not. So the oscillator's working there. So I go to the next one. Wow. Anyway, that bit noisy there. So the oscillator's working there. We can adjust it. Yep. Alright, so that one's working. I think that was long wave. Now this is the broadcast band. Oops. There's nothing there. Okay, and this would be short wave. So there's nothing on short wave either. So short wave broadcast band. Oop, no, the oscillator's not working. I think that station I was getting before was just carrying over into the long wave. I'm not sure. Here's the coil. I think that's the antenna coil. So that would be the oscillator coil. My little repair there. That's not doing anything. Oh, look at that. It's trying to work. Oop, flatlined it. It's there. It's back. Hang on. Volume. Ah, yes.
The treble, 12, 4 and 5, 3,219 in. And
there you go. Well, that's it. I wonder what's wrong with it. If I just leave that on,
which are these very unmade up.
I touched that, I think. Hey, look at that. Well, it seems to be something to do with that resistor there. I don't know if it's the resistor or the solder. The solder looks pretty good, but I'll redo that solder joint and we'll see if that fixes it. Alright, we're back.
Mesmerising, like the script is so good and he's so like.
Wow, look at that.
It's just brilliant. I mean, this is, you know, he plays a chap called Tony. He's
Well, like that join looked perfect. I couldn't see anything wrong with it. So there was something wacky in there.
And
so the radio's working all right there. Good. Now put the oscilloscope back on the oscillator pin there. See, even the shortwave one's back. Ah. So that's shortwave, medium wave, long wave, and whatever wave that is. And that's, oh, they're all working. That's the phono, the last one. Oh, that's, oh, okay. There you go. So we've got a functioning radio.
prize home draw 1.82.
Unfortunately, the tuner doesn't work very well.
His massive hat, which is his
That should be the last station.
huge, it's like a 10 gallon.
Pushing shapes as the field heads out to the 8. But midway down the Swan River side, Pearsonari is the leader. By a length, running second now, Juicing Carrots as Bella's Idol popped across onto the fence.
Juicing Carrots.
Oh, yes, okay, that's it. We're talking about that next week. We're taking calls on packing.
Alright, well, that's good. So, it's all working. So I think it's full steam ahead for the renovation on this thing. Now that I'm happy with the way the coil's operating, I'm just going to put some hot glue on that repair to make sure it stays there. Oops. There you go, that'll do. I mentioned earlier I found photos of one of these radios on the internet, and this is it. Now they've blacked out the front here of the two sides to cover up the joins in the timber. All this in here is wood grain, the top's wood grain. This looks a bronze colour, this frame around the speaker and dial. The knobs are bronzy colour as well by the look of it. And the front here around the edges is painted the same colour as the steps, I'll call them. So that's all painted. It's hard to say what colour this pressed metal is. It looks yellow here, but in other photos it looks different. It looks yellow there as well. There's the edges all done in timber. Close up at the front, doesn't tell you much there. There's the back, looks exactly the same as mine. Now someone's painted this radio as well, so it's hard to say what the original colours would have been. I think the next step is to go through and replace all these old wax caps. I have a couple of 24 UF electrodes to replace that silver electric cap that's on the top. And after I've done that, I'll have a look at this switch, I think. Now, these caps have got unusual markings on them. This one says 47 kp, this one says 10 kp. But what I think it is that says 10,000 puff. That one's 47,000 puff, k-puff. So that one would be 0.01, and that one would be 0.047 in microfarad. So I think that's what that means. I can check them when I get them out, whether they're going to be accurate enough to measure, but I think that's what that means. This one looks in reasonable condition. I might just cut it out and just see what it does measure. I have my capacitor tester here. I think this should be 0.47, and I'll see what it measures, 0.114. That's pretty much what I thought would happen. This capacitor is never going to test what its original capacitance was, so I'll have to think of another way. I'll just try something else. This is the output valve, that's the grid, and that's the grid capacitor, and they're usually 0.01, so this should say 10, and it does. So I think that's right. I think it's 10,000 puff, so that'll be a 0.01. I'm going to have to run with that because I don't know anything else. I think what I might do is test these capacitors as I pull them out and see if any of them come up on their mark. I've completed the replacement of the capacitors. I've pulled the volume pot and on-off switch out. That had some caps attached to it, so I thought I might as well take it out. Now I've got my multimeter attached to one end of the resistive strip and the other to the wiper, and it's not smooth at all. It's all over the place. So I was having trouble with that when I was testing the radio. So I need to pull the wiper apart, and the switch doesn't work either, so I've got to pull the whole thing to pieces. Let's pull these tabs back if I can. Okay, so it looks like the switch is working. That's how it's supposed to be. Alright, so I'll strip this cap off here and we'll see if I can do something while I'm in there. Now the track in there looks pretty good. I think it must have just got out of sequence when I tried to get the knob off, and I've twisted it too hard. Now, there's also an inner track there, not the resistive track, and that may well be dirty. That looks pretty dirty, so I'll try and clean all that up. I don't want to soak this resistive track too much with a cleaner though. Now I've just sprayed a bit of deoxide on that inner track, and I should be able to turn the track around here and clean that out. That looks better. That was pretty grubby, so you know that may have been a contributing factor. It's got a bit of deoxide on the rag here. I'll just wipe the resistive strip as well if I can. There's a bit of dirt there. Alright. Well, let's give that a go now. This should rise. I'm just turning it up there. Oh, it goes down. Wow. It's all at the end. Alright, so that I ran out of track at the end there. I removed the little circlip and washer from the shaft here, so I can push that through now. I'm just having a look at this track. I can't see anything wrong with it. It measures 50k as it's supposed to. So I got 50k there. So I can't see anything wrong with it. I've just cleaned this up as well, so I really don't know why it's not working properly. So I've cleaned that off thoroughly. I'll reassemble it, see if anything's changed. I'll just try it again. It's basically seems to be working now. It's a bit up and down there, and up and down there. I don't think that's unusual from what I've seen before. So yeah, so basically it's working. I'm going to reassemble it, put it back in the radio, and I think it'll be okay. Okay, I just tried this and it's not going to work. What's happened is there's a little tag supposed to sit down there and stop this from rotating. So it should go to there, hit the little tag, come back, and when it goes around again, it should hit it on the other side around here. That's broken off. I've sheared that off. Now I've got to make a new one. So what I might do is just get a little bit of brass, bend it down into the tag there, and I'll just solder it on there, and that'll hold it, but no worries at all. Right, that's set now. I'll just test it first before I'll clean all that flux off, and then we should be able to assemble it if it works. Okay, we'll give it a go. Get it on, off, on, off, on. Very good. Alright, I'll secure all that. I'll get the flux off here first. Put that back on, secure it, and I'll put it back in the radio. There's the volume pot. It's back in its place, all soldered up, all the wires are connected. This is the electrolytics. I've put 2 of those in there, and plus the other capacitors. So it's ready for a test. I did test these old capacitors as they came out, and it seemed to confirm what I hoped the values were. Alright, I'll flip it over and we'll try it out. I'm going to give it a go. I'll see if I've made any mistakes. I'm on dim bulb, 200 volts in there. Ah, my switch. There we go. It works. Not hearing anything. I'll just run the voltage up a bit. We're getting a lot more voltage into this now. I'm on broadcast band.
Nicole really pushed him to go. He had fever, he was weak, he had many symptoms. So the first time he went, and this was still, if I recall, late February.
That voltage control is working fine.
For COVID.
I thought it might.
They were looking at people mostly who had traveled.
Alright, so we saved that, that's good.
He had symptoms.
Cast from Geelong Greyhounds. EG is your code there.
Breaking news from Canberra. Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg is being tested for the coronavirus. Representatives today, quote, out of an abundance of caution. Now, if you didn't hear what the Treasurer went through, you had to fear for the guy. If ever you've given a public speech like I have and you go coughing in the middle of it, a couple of coughs in the middle of it can be quite embarrassing. But have a listen to this.
And Adrian, owner of an auto business. Sorry.
It didn't sound well. Anyway, now I also cleaned all the valves up, the bases. So, yeah, they're nice and quiet now, so that's good. That wattage now at 220 was nearly up to 40 before, so it's down to 29. That's quite a remarkable change.
Give it a speech. But that went on for, how long did we count? Nearly 60 seconds. It's an extraordinary period of time. So the news is he's being tested for the virus.
This is ABC Radio Brisbane.
Brisbane's classic hits 4KQ. With you anytime, anywhere on the free iHeartRadio app.
Alright, I'll turn that off. So, progressing well. I've just plugged the Magic Eye in to see if it works, but it looks like it's dead. I'll have to get a new one. Now, the other day, when I tested this, I was doing a bit of work afterwards, and this here, which is B+, was 170. It's up to 200, so it doesn't come up a great deal. These Magic Eyes need about 250. So I'm not sure if they'll work at 200. I guess they will. Should do something. But nothing there at all. To replace the Magic Eye, I've got a Russian equivalent here. It's a 6E5C. I had to rewire the base to make it work, of course, but apart from that, it works much the same. So just see how it works. It's got music. But you can see that the eye closes as you get closer to the station. So I should be able to tune that just using the eye. So there you go, that's how it works. I think we'll call it quits for this one and make it part 1. I think I'll need at least 3 parts to finish this radio. I've still got the case to repair and refinish. The radio itself here still needs aligning. There's a couple of small issues need to be attended to. I hope you enjoyed this radio. It's a bit unusual. It's certainly nothing I've seen before. I hope you'll join me for part 2 and my next radio adventure.